The most interesting character in the game, honestly. I'll try and shut up some while he's talking, although I'm also going to make my own points. This guy's just very morally gray.
Just you then. No UC executioner. So the cabinet knows the truth about Orlays. Splendid. That means you and I can
Oh yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to work for you, man. I just want more content in this game, and that's what you're providing me. So game-wise, you're already better.
Crack synthesizing the Lazarus plant's pollen, research that took years in and of itself, the attacks were exceedingly simple. Orlays' ship would land on our target, bearing a few heat leeches. Nothing that would raise suspicion. Then Lazarus pollen was pumped out of the ship during liftoff from the planet's surface. Shortly thereafter, an attack. A strike perpetrated in mere moments, with no one being the wiser.
Alright, so let me be clear. This stuff he does is absolutely morally evil, so there's really no question. The stuff he does to you during the quest, he makes you go through, definitely evil.
All-out war, Captain. Committing ships to save the city would have left another undefended. Which city would you prefer I'd sacrificed? Sidonia? Gagarin? New Atlantis? And if anyone else had learned about the Lazarus plant, well, the risk was too great. I weighed the options and made the call.
Now this is the morally gray thing he says, because he actually makes some good points about that stuff. Also later with this too.
I'll tell you why. Because the UC was, and is, full of people unwilling to pay the price required for victory.
Amen.
In the last days of the war, the UC was on the precipice of executing a final great assault on the Freestar Collective home system of Cheyenne. A massive strike, capable of obliterating Freestar Central Command and ending the conflict at long last.
This next bit, he is just completely spot on in my view, though. He is totally right, in my opinion. You're in a war.
But such invasions are costly, in resources and lives. Others in the UC believed the blockade would be sufficient to bring the Freestar Collective to its knees. But they were wrong. So instead, they sacrificed far more lives in a protracted war, rather than doing the right thing from the start, and demolishing the Freestar capital when they have the chance.
100% right, man. Definitely agree with that.
Right. Everything was in place. But just before we could launch the strike, word came from Londinian. The Terramorph outbreak had begun. I went to the city to assess the state of things, and discovered the Lazarus plant. We couldn't spare ships for a proper quarantine, so it was my decision to destroy the spaceport and seal off the city. Deal with it quickly, so we could get back to winning the war.
Here it's more like I understand now what he did, but that doesn't mean everything he did in that case was justified.
I had a single ship. What would you have had me do? Ask them and the Terramorphs to form a line, and the UC fleet was spread thin already. No, I touched down, assessed the situation, made a decision, and returned to the task at hand.
Now see, that actually is a good point. He didn't even have a means to save people anyway. However, does that mean he was justified to kill them himself, though? Yeah. Not sure about that still.
So upon my return from Londinian, we proceeded with our killing blow. Initially, we had great success against the mess the Freestar Collective called a Navy. But then the Freestar citizenry decided to get involved. Dozens of civilian ships jumping in to shield their military counterparts.
So human shields.
I had no trouble firing on what should have been designated enemy vessels.
Amen.
But my peers had lost the stomach for it. So many lives lost already, they wailed. So the great UC Navy was routed by a mob. They picked our ships apart. The UC surrendered not long after. And thus rang the death knell for the great UC.
He is completely right about that. Look at this dialogue option. It's like the game wants me to sympathize. It's like, no, you're in a war. And they're enemy combatants at that point. Duh, you kill them.
But yes, bad luck. And weak subordinates.
Yeah, so not only were the Freestar using human shields, they were willing human shields, which makes them enemy combatants.
Thanks to our combined efforts, the Sanan name has more clout with the cabinet than it has in years. I hope to
Consider me your minion.
I have a long list of names civilized society would be better without. I just need someone to help me remove them from the picture.
Oh, I like where this is
Should we
going.
begin the hunt? Or did you have questions? Just making the settled systems a little safer. Arms dealers, rogue scientists, UC turncoats, war criminals from the colony war. Each poses a threat if left unchecked. I'd be directing you to them, and you'd be making the galaxy better for us all.
Working for the UC equivalent to a mafia boss in prison underground? Hey, I like doing that. I'll do your dirty work.
The UC doesn't consider these threats worthy of action just yet. But by the time they do, it may well be too late. Which is why we'll be dealing with them before they can cause greater harm. As far as possible legal repercussions, I'll only be sending you to targets once they're away from the general populace. You may have to deal with some mercenaries or other general banditry, but no one's gonna shed a tear if a merchant of death or a chem peddler and their henchmen meet an early end. You won't be going after anyone that you see might miss. So you needn't fear in that regard.
Alright, let's do this. Let's kill some
That's what I
people.
was hoping to hear. There's a slate waiting for
So
you.
yeah, if I were to assess the morality of this dude, so what? We got, the stuff he does in the main faction quest is definitely evil. Like, it's pretty clear he's just trying to protect his legacy and help his daughter's legacy and willing to let people die for that. So, of course, they have to portray the, because I just think the game just doesn't like some of the morality he does preach that I think is totally right. And so this is how Bethesda always does it. It's like in Fallout 4, the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood of Steel was completely right. I'm sorry, they were right. You definitely kill these synthetic like, they should have never been created in the first place. It's like Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park. You absolutely should destroy these dinosaurs. Get rid of them. Cause their next extinction. I'm fine with that. They're a threat to all of us. Like, it's so stupid. But yeah, in Fallout 4, they portray the Brotherhood of Steel as like morally great jerks, and I'm like, are you really serious? Like when you kill Paladin Dance and you hear Elder Maxon's reasoning to you, he actually makes if you listen to it, I think he made some good sense when he's talking about that thing was born in a lab, like its very beliefs are programmed. I'm like, yeah, like what is this? This whole idea that human beings, like, we are capable of creating sentient life. Like, where does that even come from? Why in the world should we believe these robots have sentience? Because we just made them. Like, we don't even know where that comes from. We don't even know why we have it. Well, I would say we know, but let's just say that there's big disagreement among humans about that question. And we all have our opinions, including me, and I would say I'm right, but putting that aside, the whole point is, like, it's ridiculous to think you could, like, we could ever achieve something like that. And also that we should be trying to do that, which is why, no, absolutely, Brotherhood of Steel, destroy all robots. I'm fine with that. When I learned Paladin Dance was a robot, it's like, oh, yep, I agree. He should be eliminated too. This is crazy science. The fact that it's even this chaotic and weird, absolutely, get rid of him. He even wants to die. All right, I'll please you, Paladin Dance. Anyway, back to Vae Victus. Like, yeah, the stuff he does in the game is evil. There's no question that he's a bad dude. However, his justification for what he did to Londinium, I'm like, when you hear the details like you just heard, it's like, I don't really know. I definitely don't think he should have actively took on the role of killing those people. But as he said, he had no way of saving them anyway, so I don't know what else he could have done. It's one of those situations where it's like it's easier, as he points out, it's easier to judge when you're not the commander then. So I don't really know. However, the bit about the Freestar, like, absolutely. This game's just Space Marines versus Space Cowboys, but the Space Marines are, sorry, they're in the right. They had the more interesting quest for one. Everyone would agree this was the most interesting faction quest in the game. But he's totally right. You know, civilians, they enter the fight and they start shielding your enemy. I mean, they're threatening your troops. So yes, they're enemy combatants. You have to value your troops over them when they're hostile, of course.